Hello, my beautiful souls. I'm so glad we could join together again today and dive into some messages from Spirit. Some of these messages will resonate for you and others will not. But I hope that you're able to glean some insight from the cards and how you might address things happening in your life either way. Really interesting. Ooh, this is a tough card to pull. The first thing that I feel when I see this card is that we cannot consistently play the pity game. Poor me. The victimization of our lives is not something that Spirit wants for us. It's a consistent feeling of somebody doing this to you, or somebody's interfering with your life, or some factor is making things more difficult for you to deal with. There's an overwhelming sense of, look at all the trouble this person's caused. I'm getting a third party here. There's another party, and we want to blame this third party. We'll see what you did to cause the situation or to add conflict to the situation. That third party was playing their role no differently than the party that you were dealing with. So I'm getting from Spirit that this person had to learn their own lessons and they made their own choices. They put themselves in their own situation. This third party didn't add any conflict to your relationship with this person, as much as we might want to say, this is causing this difficulty, or it's making it worse, or look at what they did. They damaged this person, and now this person isn't healed. That person is responsible for their own healing and their own, just as you're responsible for how you take and respond to their path. This is about your path. And you had the choice to walk away, and you had the choice to do things differently. And you have the choice to say, well, I'm sorry you feel that way. And I hope that you're okay. And I would love for you to be in a better place. But I'm not responsible for that. I'm getting that these roles can be reversed for some, but the overwhelming message is that nobody's doing anything to you. They're living their life, and they're learning the lessons they need to learn. And we can speak all day about whether or not they're doing a good job, but is that really going to affect you? Or are you supposed to be focused on what you're doing? If we're all fractal beings and we're all experiencing life at the same time through the lens of this collective conscience, we have to step away from these situations and look at this person as an extension of ourself, and especially if it invokes a certain type of feeling from us. Our reaction says a lot about areas that we personally need to heal. If we continually return to these types of situations, we're not choosing to learn that lesson. And it's easy to blame that on other people, but that's a cycle that you are continuing to pursue. Whether or not someone is behaving inappropriately towards you, you are the one who's responsible for your reaction to that. And Spirit saying your reaction to that should have been to pull back, walk away from that. Now I have both the Sun and the Mother of Pentacles here. I'm getting this very grounding energy of the situation is all about self-focus, about healing the self, about providing a nurturing environment. I am getting for some that this is You and your counterpart are experiencing a type of relationship that is um, created to help you deal with parent wounds. So one of you is dealing with a mother or father wound, and the other one is dealing with a mother or father wound, and that your counterparts coming together to address these wounds from your own perspective. You might be representing some of the things that they struggle with in their life with their parent wound. And you keep getting drawn back to them because that's an area that you're struggle with your parent wound. So coming together, we have this young, hardworking, grounded, sensible, who wants to be loyal and dedicated, who wants to be consistent, and he's trying to find ways to deal with someone who reminds him a whole lot of himself, but also from someone who raised him. She is looking over the situation and being reminded of a relationship between parent and child and saying, "Oh, am I repeating cycles here?" She's wanting to, and he's wanting to both have a different kind of environment where you can both be invited to not only be authentic, but feel safe and nurtured so that you can address these wounds, so that you can work through these things together, so that it isn't a you did this to me or I did this to you. There's no blame being placed here. Instead, we're opening up an opportunity for two people who have suffered and have dealt with uh, pain and loss to be able to help each other heal in a very um, calm, safe, nurturing environment where there is a consistency. This is an unconditional love feel. This is I'm going to have my bad days, and I need to know that you're not going to run from me. I need to know that you're going to give me space and time to process. I need to know that even when I'm not at my best, that you're still going to care about me. So we're talking about opening up this security blanket, this unconditional love that was not felt with that parenting wound. So this individual that you're dealing with, whether it's your counterpart or whether it's another person, a karmic or another soul tie type of connection, it's about taking responsibility for each other's healing in the way of recognizing your own wound and then saying, therefore, because I know that I have this to deal with, I want to allow this space for you to deal with this as well. I don't want to, I cannot be up in this, I don't have this issue and I don't know where you get this from. That's, that's that mentality of victimization. You did mess up, but now you have an opportunity to not only heal yourself through this reflection, but work with healing another person too. This person now has space to heal as well. So this is a really good message from Spirit, and I hope this resonates with you, with someone that's crossed your path in life. We pulled three in this situation. We're going to go ahead and read all three together. We have the otter spirit of you're never alone. We have the starfish, open to infinite possibilities. And we have the river of blessings, which is releasing constraints. There's a connection that you have with people that you don't quite understand sometimes. They cross our paths and they trigger us in ways that we're not expecting. And yet you can't run from them. It's like looking in a mirror. Every time you try to erase them from your mind, they pop into your mind and you recognize that they are tied to you in some way. There's also this sense of knowing that there is work to be done with this person, that there is something unfinished, that there's more to be gained from this connection. And it's a sense of love and of healing and of nurturing and of wanting to be a part of this person's healing, but knowing that that person's healing is connected to your own healing. And they seem to sense this as well. And a bigger in the bigger scheme of things, we all have these connections out there in the world. There's always someone out there that has experienced something parallel, maybe not exactly in details, but parallel to you. And we are often drawn to these people because we are experiencing life at the same frequency. So, especially when they trigger us, we need to examine why. But also, then treating this person with the way you needed to be treated, with the way you want and deserve to be treated, rather than the way that you were taught, trained, or ingrained to respond to that situation. We are connected to each other as well. So even when we just cross these very short paths with people out in the world, for example, I'm driving down the highway, someone is not doing a very good job. I want to be frustrated with that. And yet I realize that they seem distressed. There's some distress there. I don't know if they're having car difficulties or they're just genuinely having difficulties. Maybe they're emotionally distraught for something. I don't know. And that was the lesson right there is I just don't know what they're going through. But rather than become frustrated with them, I give them the space to deal with what they need to because that is what I need sometimes. Sometimes I'm just dealing with something and I just need space to deal with it and time to deal with that. And if somebody were to be triggered by my behavior and what I'm dealing with and to add to that, it would be so much more complicated. But instead I choose to look at them as another being that I share this existence with and extend a little bit of love and support to that person. Because someday I hope that that's offered to me when I need it the most, that another person sees me as a human being that has bad days and wants to offer that same to me. Um, both of these referring to this type of connection with each other, opening up opportunities that were not considered before, opening up pathways that seemed closed, being open to consider that there are so many ways that things can happen, so many things that can affect us. There's so many ways that we can cross paths, that we can be connected, that we can be united. So many things that we share in this life. By being open to all of the things that one could experience, and then considering that you can't even conceive of all of that, you're also accepting the same mindset in that of abundance, in that of healing, in that of nurturing. So you've been cheated on, for example. If we hold the mindset that I am hurt and injured by this without considering that there are other people out there that not only have been hurt by this, but have also recovered from this, right? There's that other, we have to look at all the perspectives. And then we have these situations where people were accused of things that they didn't do, or maybe were confused about their situation and didn't realize that they had hurt another person. These are all possibilities that we don't immediately think of when we're dealing with that situation. Now, that's a very limited situation. It's very specific and kind of strict, but in that same sense, When we take time and space and we step back from the situation, we open up this idea that there's a lot more possibilities there, which also means that there's a whole lot of people out there that would never do that, that would never be even consider that type of behavior. They always want to maintain. There's always going to be an equal and opposite of every situation, as well as every possible pathway to that situation. So with this river of blessings, it's opening up this pathway of healing, and understanding and compassion for another person. Um, we don't know all the answers. We know that we're all experiencing life together, and I'm sure there's something parallel that you've experienced that you could, if you opened your mind, relate to what that person has gone through. Neurodivergent people, I think, have a tendency to be able to do this more easily. That we can relate and compare to other individuals' experiences. But I think it's a good exercise to do, regardless of how you think, to try to brainstorm what type of circumstances could you see yourself experiencing that led to that, and then try to reverse them all and see if that those possibilities exist as well. Recognizing this is our connection to each other. This is how we relate to each other. This is how we share in each other's experience, how we learn from each other, and also how we open up these healing pathways that we possibly thought weren't possible before. Maybe you thought you couldn't trust another person uh, who had hurt you in this way, but by considering all these other situations and realizing that there's somebody out there that's not only possibly paralleled that, but also has the opposite situation, you can see now that there is potential there for that to exist within your own life. This is about kind of broadening our horizons a little bit and seeing all the potential that exists, all the possibilities that are out there that we can't even conceive of yet. It's a lot to think about. Let me know what you think about this in the comments. This is a really powerful message here as well. Envy and patience. The envy card says, I am the same as everybody, but with different challenges. We just kind of talked about that in the last video. And patience. Um, there are times that we feel as though someone's blessings are, say, unfair. Maybe we think that we deserved our blessings first, or that we've definitely done the work and we haven't received those blessings. But how do we know what work that person's really done? How do we know what they've truly experienced? How do we know that they hadn't had life lessons that put them in this position to receive at this timing because it was the right timing? To one person, being teased, for example, about being overweight in school is extremely difficult, painful, traumatizing. And to another individual, being teased or made fun of for being very, very thin was painful and traumatizing. Person who was overweight or heavy looks at that thin person, and that thin person says, in some weight. Very simplified example. A person who struggles financially, a person that has lots of money says, I wish I had time to just experience life and it wasn't all about money. Person who has a car might complain about the car, and they see a person getting rides everywhere and walking and taking the bus and going, "Ah, I wish I could make that work for my life." Whereas the person that's dealing with the bus system and weather and relying on other people. It's just that freedom, having my own transportation. Again, I'm talking in this tangible world of material things, but on the grander scale, we're referencing perspective. What I experience might not be a big deal to someone else, but it was to me. And I might look at something that somebody else experienced and say, what are they complaining about? It's not that big of a deal. But it is to them. We all have situations like this where we might look at another person who's got all the family and they're around all the time and they get to go do all these wonderful things with their family. And you see them and you look at their situation and go, oh, that's amazing. Look at that. But we don't know the struggles that they're dealing with. Maybe that family is controlling, or maybe that family expects a lot of them and they're feeling the pressure of that. We don't know. We don't know what the challenges are for another person. Even when they share them with us, we don't necessarily know because maybe they don't fully identify it. So envy is a mirror that allows us to look at the reflection of another person as well as ourselves and consider opening and widening our perspective on difficulties that someone may feel. Um, you might see someone who is very thin as a person that has no complaints in the world because they don't get judged on beauty standards. But unless you're in that person's shoes, you don't know what kind of beauty standards are being judged for. And on that same note, we might look at somebody who is a voluptuous shape or something and think, oh, well, they have all the curves in the world. And they might be sitting there struggling with the fact that they're being overly exualized, careful that for the content, um, by people who look at them. We just don't know. So the patience card has come up because it is asking us to consider that our blessings and the things that are happening for us are happening at the time, in the timing, and in the order that they need to happen for us to truly be able to understand and grasp our perspective, as well as uh, refrain from casting judgment and refrain from having opinions about the experiences others are having in their lives. We just don't know. We don't know what their life is like. And to think that it's all beautiful and perfect and wonderful is completely unfair. You wouldn't want them to think that about your life. But when we think about this, it gives us a little bit of space to kind of step back and say, maybe I don't want to learn the lessons that they had to learn. Maybe I want to just focus on myself. Maybe I want to understand my own journey first and recognize that things happen in the timing that they're supposed to happen in. So I have communication skills. I can communicate openly. It's not fair for me to be frustrated by somebody who struggles, who's never had an open forum or felt welcome expressing themselves in this way. But if I give them space, if I step back and I just say, well, I don't know what that's like, so I don't know what they need in order to feel comfortable with that. I'm also giving myself permission to step back and consider what it's like to close my mouth, giving it some time and giving it a shining new light on the situation. makes me feel a little bit less urgent about things. It doesn't, if I think about, it's unfair that my financial needs aren't met in this way. But then I consider that somebody who does have these finances might have some difficulties and struggles that I'm not even aware of. It makes me a little bit more, let me make sure that I'm comfortable with my journey. Because maybe I don't want maybe I don't want their difficulties. Maybe I want to be able to really appreciate things in this way for myself so that I can be in a different space to welcome the blessings when they do land in my lap. Some really interesting concepts came up in the cards today. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for joining me on your journey. It's always a pleasure.